Hey everyone, I'm super pumped that you're here tonight. Take a moment right now and just celebrate the fact that you're here. I understand how busy you are. I know exactly how difficult it can be some days to find an extra 10 or 15 minutes for yourself, let alone 30, 40, or 60. So just take a moment right now to celebrate the fact that you're here. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to bring this information about a plant-centered approach to eating to you and for you to walk away with some really tangible things that you'll be able to implement right away. So let's just dive in. So you're in the right place if you can relate to any of these things. If you feel like you're always bloated or puffy, or maybe struggling with digestive issues. Maybe you're continually trying diets and just feel unhealthy or continue to struggle to get excess weight off. If you struggle with brain fog or a difficult time focusing, more than likely you've heard the term plant-based and maybe you're just feeling a little bit uninformed or even overwhelmed to give it a try. If you can relate to any of these things, then you're in the right place. So we're going to just cut right to the chase and talk about it, right? What is a plant-centered diet? So it's a diet based on foods derived from plants, including obviously fruits and vegetables, but also whole grains. So that's things like oats, rice, quinoa, things like nuts and seeds, and then legumes. So that's beans, lentils, peas. And the key here is with some or no animal products, right? Like, let's just take a minute and take a deep sigh of relief. Does that take some of the pressure off it needing to look a certain way? In short, a plant-centered diet is a plant-forward way of eating, where plants are the star. We're going to cover some of the common worries, fears, and misconceptions because chances are you've come in with at least one of these tonight, and I want to just nip them all in the butt right in the beginning so that they're not looming in the back. So the first one is, do I have to give up all the foods that I love? And the answer is definitely not. I would never, ever recommend that somebody stop eating dessert or chocolate or tacos or pancakes or pizza or nachos or whatever that thing is that they love, right? No, you absolutely do not have to give up the foods that you love. All of the images that you see here, these are foods that are packed with plant foods and you would never even know. So no, you definitely don't have to give up the foods that you love. The next one is it vegan? Is it vegetarian? Is it whole food plant-based? We're going to talk a little bit more about diet culture here shortly, but no, not necessarily. So there are a couple of images here, and you see this first one is a salad that is pictured with a little bit of cheese. So some people will choose to continue to incorporate dairy into their diet. Some people will choose to continue to incorporate eggs. Some people even continue to incorporate some animal protein. So whether that is pork, poultry, beef, seafood, in any capacity. And then some people prefer to just keep it to plant foods in any combination of these, right? So if there's any one thing that I've learned over the course of time that I've been implementing this lifestyle and teaching this, is that there are as many diets as there are people on the planet. So veganism, vegetarianism, a whole food plant-based diet, it's really great for some bodies, but it's not good for everybody. Everybody, right? What we all do reap the benefits from is incorporating more plant foods into our diet, regardless of what it specifically looks like. This is a big one. Does it consist of a squirrel-like diet? Am I going to feel like I'm just eating nuts and seeds and tree bark and eating like a rabbit? And while you probably will begin to incorporate more nuts, more seeds, more greens, more herbs into your diet than maybe you ever have, I promise you that you won't feel like you're eating like a squirrel or a rabbit, and I promise you it will not suck. These are 3 images of beautiful, bold, nutrient-dense, absolutely to die for plant-fueled meals that actually don't have any animal foods in them at all, and you would never even miss them. They're so delicious. So while yes, you probably will be incorporating more nuts and seeds and rabbit-like food, you won't really even be thinking about it because it's going to be tasting so good. The next one, and this is the biggest one, hands down, that I get is, will I get enough protein? Or if I stop eating as much meat, where will I get my protein, right? Like, how many of you guys can relate to this? So I feel like it's really valuable here to just break this down. So here's a picture of a salad. And the kale in itself, this is probably about 3 cups of kale, is delivering 4 grams of protein. The pear brings 1, the onion brings another, the sunflower seeds bring 5, sesame seeds bring another 5, pepita seeds bring another 5, totaling 21 grams of protein. And that was just with the plants on the plate, right? Now we're gonna add that drizzle on top, which is the dressing that is comprised of a handful of ingredients, but the mainstay is tahini and miso paste. Both contain protein, so let's add another 4 grams. This salad, before we added that little bit of cheese on it, was already delivering 25 grams of protein. Now, because we wanted to just make it a little bit more fun, we added an ounce or 2 of feta cheese that was bringing another 5 to 8 grams of protein, right? So this salad, before we even added any type of animal food, it was only plant foods, and it was delivering 25 grams of protein. Incorporate a little bit of animal protein if it feels good for you, and increase the protein by a little bit more, right? So let's nip that one in the butt right away. Plant foods, when it's done the right way, a plant-forward way of eating can absolutely deliver plenty of protein. I want to just share a little bit about what brings me here today before we dive in. So this is a picture of me when I was a kid. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was born and raised here. And after graduating high school, I went on to study education at West Virginia University. From there, I went to earn 3 levels of Pilates certification, and I started teaching in the wellness studio. I ended up over time circling back to Pittsburgh and earning my master's degree in education. And from there, I started teaching in the classroom, 1st and 2nd grade. I love to teach. And then our son Ziggy was born in 2014. He's the one that really inspired me to begin to think outside of the box and start to think about ways that I could continue to teach, but also provide a little bit more flexibility in my schedule to be more present for my family. So it all started in 2015 as a food blog, and what I do has evolved quite a bit over time. I've gone and on to earn my holistic health coach and life coach certifications from Health Coach Institute. And we welcomed our 2nd son trip in March of last year. So that's what brings me here today to talk to you. We're going to cover a couple of problems. We're going to discuss some problems today, but we're also going to talk about solutions, because I know you guys didn't come here to hear and talk about problems. But what I invite you to do right now, if you haven't already, is to grab your pen, open up the notes app on your phone, and begin to take some notes. Jot some things down, because I promise you're going to have some really valuable takeaways. As a reminder, if any questions come up for you, be sure to be typing them in the chat, and we'll get to those at the open-ended Q&A forum at the end. So the first problem is the diet culture that we live in, right? The diet culture that we live in, it has us feeling trapped in a restrictive space. It's focused on what we can't have or what we're not allowed to have. And restriction and deprivation, that they don't feel good, right? They might be fine for the short term, but restriction and deprivation are not sustainable for the long term. So this is where we get the term yo-yo diet, because none of this ever really feels, for most people, sustainable forever. The biggest issue with our diet culture is that it has us so pigeonholed and into defining the eating space and what it should, quote unquote, look like the shoulds and the should nots, that we've completely lost our ability to lean in, to listen to our bodies, and to just trust our intuition when it comes to food and our body's nutritional needs. So it's not necessarily about being 100% plant-based or 100% keto or vegan or paleo or vegetarian. It's about really tuning in and leaning in and listening to our bodies. And the first step in doing that is to release the diet culture. The second problem is that we are moving entirely way too fast. This has us reaching for convenience foods, skipping meals, and we are eating and living under an immense amount of stress. The third issue is that we are eating a lot less of this, and we're eating a lot more of this. So we're eating fewer whole foods from their original source, and we're eating more pre-packaged convenience, heat and eat, takeout options. And the result of this is real, right? So as a nation, we are getting sicker. These stats come from the Center for Disease Control. 1 in 4 adults in the United States are living with diabetes or are pre-diabetic. Cancer rates have increased nearly 63% in the last 100 years. Heart disease remains the #1 cause of death in the US, and that has increased nearly 65% since the turn of the last century. And childhood obesity rates, they're climbing every single year. Again, these stats, they come from the Center for Disease Control. We struggle with skin issues, fertility issues, hormone imbalances. We have irritable bowels. We struggle with brain fog, low mood, no motivation. But do you want to know something really amazing? Up to 40% of the annual deaths from each of the leading causes in the US are preventable with diet and lifestyle. Preventable. These stats also come from the CDC. So if this doesn't inspire us to spring into action, I don't know what will. I get it. You really want to make a change. You want to eat better and cook healthier and learn to incorporate more balanced meals, but you're maybe feeling a little bit overwhelmed. You don't know where to start. So you kind of just feel paralyzed and you don't start at all because it won't be perfect. But at what expense? This is a photo of me. Keep moving my head around here. In my 20s. I felt like I was always struggling to get like that last, quote unquote, 5 to 10 pounds off. I was always struggling with a little bit of extra weight. But what you don't see on the outside is that I struggled with chronic constipation. It's the elephant in the room. Nobody ever wants to talk about it, but it's a real issue. Many, many people struggle with. I thought that being regular was like 2 to 3 times a week. Like that was a good week for me. So I struggled with chronic constipation, and I also struggled with fatigue big time. I could sleep for 12 to 13 hours and I wouldn't wake up feeling rested. I would wake up and be like, oh my gosh, I need to go back to bed. So it was shortly after this time in my life that I began to educate myself about our food system, educate myself about where our food comes from and the impact that our food has on our bodies. I started to implement what I was learning, and it was transforming my life. I no longer struggle with that extra, quote unquote, stubborn weight. I no longer struggle with irregularity or constipation. And then I wake up feeling rested even though I have 2 kids. So I'm healthier now in my 30s than I was in my 20s. So this is just proof that it's just about a choice, and it's a choice that you can make too. And I absolutely believe that you can begin to implement some of the things that we're going to talk about today and completely transform your life, your energy, your health, and vitality. So this is a visual for the standard American diet, and it's a breakdown of what US food consumption looks like as a percentage of calories. I feel like it's really useful because we can visually see this, right? So let's take a look at this big yellow chunk down at the bottom. This 63% represents processed food. So if we're looking at a standard American diet as a whole, 63%, well over half of their diet on the day-to-day is comprised of processed foods. So remembering a few slides back, these are all those things on the right-hand side. These are foods that are loaded with preservatives, added fats, oils, sugars, refined grains, right? Now we look at this red chunk up in the top right. 25% of the standard American diet is comprised of animal foods. So this is obviously things like meat, but also dairy, eggs, fish, and seafood. And what's really important to notice here is that cholesterol and saturated fat are primarily found in animal foods. And let's think back on the stat that we just learned about heart disease and make this connection. So 25% of the standard American diet is comprised of animal foods that are packed with saturated fat and cholesterol. The leading cause of death in the United States is heart disease. Now, what's most alarming to me in this pie graph is this 12% in the green. The 12% is representative of the plant foods incorporated in an average day in the standard American's diet. So again, plant foods mean fruits, veggies, legumes, nuts, seeds, and whole grains. What's really important to notice here is that fiber is only found in plant foods, right? Another thing to notice is that up to half of these plant foods can be processed. So I want you to think of like the spinach in your spinach souffle in the freezer section, or the apples in your apple pie, or the tomatoes in your ketchup, right? Up to 6% of those plant foods are processed. So really only 6% of the standard American diet is comprised of whole plant foods. So why more plant foods? Why is it important, right? There's a bunch of things that happen here, and we're going to start with what's happening on the inside. When we are consuming plant foods, we are getting fiber. We know that when we get fiber, it keeps things moving. It is like the star in keeping regularity in our digestion on point, right? So fiber is key in regularity and healthy digestion. We also know that when we eat a diet that is high in fiber, we are creating an environment for a healthy gut. We are learning more and more about the connection between the gut and our brain. So we know now that the healthier our gut is, the healthier our brains are. Suddenly we think more clearly. We're no longer in bouts of sadness or depression or feeling as anxious. We are producing more serotonin. We have an overall happier demeanor. So there's a huge connection between our gut and our brain, and a lot of that starts with fiber. Plant foods also deliver macronutrients, which are the big guys, right? Protein, fat, and carbohydrates. But where plant foods really shine is by also delivering micronutrients. So these are things like phytonutrients, antioxidants, phytochemicals, vitamins, minerals. These are the things that feed our body at the cellular level. They help to boost immunity, naturally combat disease. They help our hair to shine and be vibrant, and our nails to grow, and our skin to be ageless and glowing, right? Micronutrients are responsible for that. Plant foods, namely fruits and vegetables, are also very nutrient dense, which means that they carry a very high nutrient load for a relatively low caloric load. So if we think about a head of romaine lettuce, you could eat a giant head of romaine lettuce for very few calories and get tons of nutrients from it, right? So plant foods, fruits and vegetables namely, are very nutrient dense. They're also very water dense. So it's like killing two birds with one stone. So all that great stuff is happening on the inside. What is the result on the outside? Well, lots of things are happening, right? Physically, it is not uncommon for people to report lost weight or inches, lowered blood sugar, blood pressure, lowered cholesterol. Suddenly people's hormones will balance naturally. Their hair, nails, skin all seem to glow and grow, lessened joint pain and arthritic symptoms, as well as regulated bowels. It is also not uncommon for people to report eliminated brain fog, increased energy, clearer thinking, just an overall happier demeanor, a regained sense of control, reduced anxiety and depression. And another huge perk, and this is something that we don't really talk about a lot, is that most people find that they're saving a lot of money. And this is possible for a couple of reasons. One, plant foods are very cost effective, right? Plant-based proteins, especially if we think about the cost of 2 cans of beans to incorporate in a meal to feed a family of 4, as opposed to a pound of meat, it's much more cost effective for less than $2 to buy the beans, right? You're also likely planning and cooking more meals at home. So eating in more, cooking in more, eating out less. So you're winning all around on your grocery bill and in your bank account. All right, you guys ready to implement? So I'm going to give you 5 very actionable things that you can do today or tomorrow. So grab your pen if you don't already have it. The first one, and this is so important, is to head into each week with a plan. Ben Franklin said, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. This doesn't need to be rocket science. This is really just setting aside and being really intentional about setting aside like 20 minutes once a week, putting a little bit of forethought, putting some pen to paper and saying, okay, what am I going to feed myself and the people that I'm cooking for or cooking with this week? Creating a grocery list, getting yourself to the grocery store to get that food into your home. And if you don't feel like you have the time or you just hands down don't like grocery shopping, take advantage of one of the awesome grocery services that are available these days. Like you don't even have to leave your house if you don't want to. And it doesn't cost an arm or a leg. So that way, when you find yourself in a jam on Wednesday when one of your kids was sick or the traffic was really bad or the meeting went later than it was supposed to, you have everything in the house and you already have an idea of what is going on to your plate and into your belly. The next is to tune into how you feel, and this one is so important. So really increasing our awareness around how do certain foods impact my energy. So beginning to just notice like, okay, I ate something and then 30 minutes later I wanted to take a nap. Or I ate something and I realized that I had like sustained energy for 3 hours. That was really awesome. And just beginning to notice how certain foods impact my energy. Also how certain foods begin to impact your digestion. So I ate something and I blew up like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Or I ate something and suddenly I was backed up for 2 days. Or I ate something and suddenly there was this sense of urgency. Or the opposite is also true. I ate something and I felt really regular and good, right? The next one is tuning into your weight and the way that your clothes fit. I'm not a big advocate for stepping on the scale regularly, but we all get dressed every single day. So beginning to notice how certain foods impact the way that my clothes fit. When I get dressed in the morning, do I feel comfortable in those clothes all day long throughout all of my meals? How do certain foods impact my moods? I had a complete disconnect. If we reflect back on that photo that I shared with you on the left, a few slides back, there was a total disconnect between my fatigue and my low moods and my irritability. I was not at all connecting that my food really strongly impacted that. Something that I've definitely realized, and I know now what foods will trigger irritability or low moods or fatigue for me. So beginning to really tune into that. I ate something and suddenly I was really cranky and irritable, or I ate something and I felt really happy and grateful and high vibe, right? And beginning to make those connections. And the last one, and this one is so powerful, is how do certain foods impact my relationship with myself? Again, if we reflect back on that photo of me a few slides back on the left, I didn't have anything kind to say to myself about me or my body for many, many years. Beginning to heal that relationship with myself and my body has been such an empowering thing. And the foods that I'm putting in my body have been played such an instrumental role in that. So beginning to really just notice, like, how do certain foods impact my relationship with myself, the words that I say to myself? Do I talk to myself like somebody that I love? I think what's really important about all of these is to do it without judgment. So it's really just around increasing our awareness, not saying like, oh, you ate that again and it made you feel like crap and beating yourself up about it, but instead just noticing and saying, okay, I ate that and then I didn't feel good. So I'm just noticing that and I'm going to remember that for next time. So it's just around increasing our awareness and releasing judgment. The next one is to incorporate at least one fruit or veggie with every meal or snack. So here are some visuals for how you can do that, right? Pancakes. Who doesn't love a good plate of pancakes? Load up half your plate with fresh fruit. Tacos. Who doesn't love tacos, right? Load up your tacos with lots of fresh veggies and beans and all the good stuff, right? And then this bowl here on the left, I never ate any of these things until I was like in my early 30s. Beets, butternut squash, lentils. I've never cooked with parsley. Who does that, right? So these are all foods that I had never eaten until not that long ago, right? We can do hard things. And this one is so big, right? Oh. Start where you are and release the idea that it needs to be perfect. Diet culture has us brainwashed and to believing that it has to be perfect. Like, I'm keto or I'm not. I'm low carb or I'm not. I'm vegan, I'm plant-based, I'm paleo or I'm not. It has to be perfect, and I have to either be on the diet or off the diet. I invite you right now to just release all of that and just start where you are. So there are many of you tuning in right now that are thinking like, okay, I'm already implementing a lot of this stuff. This feels really easy for me. And then there are many of you, I'm sure, that are feeling really overwhelmed, like, whoa, I don't even know where I'm gonna start. And then everybody in between, right? So what I invite you to do is to start where you are. If you're feeling overwhelmed, what's one thing that you can begin to implement that feels good for you consistently, and do that until it feels easy, and then add something else in. For those of you that are feeling like, all right, I'm already doing this, what's the next thing for you? What's the next step for you? Release the idea that it needs to be perfect and start where you are. And this is my challenge to you. What if you started with just one plant-centered meal every day? Now, maybe you already are, right? If you're one of those people that is already implementing this, right? You're eating the one plant-centered meal a day. What would happen if you did 2 or 3? Or even on the weekends, right? What does that look like for you? Here are some images of what those meals could look like. All of the pictures that you see here are loaded with plant foods. And there are also some shared reflections of people that have implemented what we're talking about today. And they just started where they were and then turned it into a lifestyle that felt good for their body and their life, right? So I'm not going to share all of these, but this first one here on the top left, the food tastes great. Best of all, I have not been constipated since incorporating your food. Finally, I hear this all the time and it makes me so happy because I know exactly how this feels. This one down here in the bottom center, I feel fantastic. I'm down 27 pounds in 5 months and doing my first 5K with a girlfriend on Sunday. Like, this is big stuff, guys. And these are real people doing really incredible things. So I remember when I first started to make this lifestyle change and just began to unprocess my diet, incorporate more plant foods, it felt really overwhelming, and stir fries and the standard salad got really old really fast. So what happened over the course of time was that I got creative in my kitchen. And the result of that was a series of recipes, 12 plus years of recipes that have turned into this, the Veg Out Project recipe series. It's a library of over 250 and growing plant-centered, allergen-friendly recipes. And this is how I'm able to share this resource with you. So every week we offer a suggested weekly meal plan. And here's this week's plan. This is exactly what everybody that's inside here is seeing, right? So what we do is we suggest 1 breakfast, 1 lunch recipe, and then 3 dinner recipes to sprinkle in over the course of your week. We also provide a downloadable grocery list with meal prep tips. Excuse me. So that's opening here. You're going to notice here that a lot of things are bold-faced. And that's because these are things that we denote as pantry staples. They're things that you probably already have in your pantry, in your refrigerator, your freezer. And they're things that once you have them on hand, you don't have to restock them all that often. They're just sort of there as like pantry staples. So you can see how simple this grocery shopping haul is for an entire week once you eliminate all those, once you stock your pantry, right? Another cool thing that we do here is we share ingredients. So how many of you have brought home groceries and then at the end of the week, you're pulling out like the mystery soggy produce bag and you're like, what was even in here? I don't know, because it's like gone so bad that it's turned into soup in the produce bag. That won't happen here because we use shared ingredients. So we eliminate food waste. It helps to be kind to our wallet, to our grocery spend. And it also helps to just simplify grocery shopping. If you're gonna buy a whole big box of greens, of spinach, of kale, whatever, you're gonna use the whole box over the course of the week. You're not gonna throw away a half of a box of soggy greens. Another awesome resource that we provide here is 5 meal prep tips. So these are 5 things that you can do to just simplify and make the week ahead so much easier. We talked about how important it is to head into each week with a plan. And if you implement not just the plan, but these meal prep tips also, you have set yourself up for massive success. Our recipes come together, almost all of them, in 30 minutes or less. If you implement these 5 simple tips that we give you every week, you're going to have meals, grab and go breakfast, grab and go lunches throughout the week, as well as dinners that are going to come together in less than 20 or 25 minutes. It's going to be awesome. So this is a really cool resource. If you're looking at that and thinking like, okay, that feels really overwhelming to me, we also offer this quick little visual for those of you that just want to get started where you are with 1 plant-centered meal a day. So we'll suggest, hey, cook these couple recipes this week, eat them on these days, and you got your bases covered. Just make the pancakes, that Alfredo, and the kale Caesar, and you're in great shape. Now, some of you are maybe more seasoned, or you're feeling like you're already implementing a lot of this stuff, and this resource is going to be really valuable to you. So, and it's going to be valuable to everybody regardless, but especially to those people that feel like, okay, I don't need the meal plan. So this is our search engine portal. This is access to all 250 plus recipes. We're adding new content to this every single week. And you can search by dietary need and preference, ingredient, meal type, or season. So we cook with the seasons. It's important to us. It's not to everybody, but if you're engaged in this, then that's something that we like to focus on. So let's just, for an example, type in lunch. And what's cool about our breakfast and lunch recipes is that they're designed to batch prep. So you are going to cook once or prepare once, and you're going to have 4 to 6 grab and go breakfast or lunch options throughout the week. So look at all of this awesome inspo, right, for lunch. So maybe that's just where you want to start, right? I could click see more, but I'm not going to. All right, maybe you're thinking, all right, I have all that broccoli in my crisper drawer, or broccoli's on sale this week, or my mom said she's going to give me some more broccoli. Then you type in broccoli, right? And you have all this broccoli inspiration, okay? Gone are the days of steamed, boring broccoli, okay? You also have access here to our community, and this is an online forum, basically. It's off of Facebook. We pulled it off of Facebook because it's busy there. Same type of structure though, where you're gonna have an online forum, access to me, you can ask questions, share what you're cooking, make suggestions, and stay inspired in action. And then we also have a resource archive, and this is packed full of so much good stuff. There's something for everybody here. We have a dairy and egg substitute guide. So if you're maybe wanting to eat fewer eggs and less dairy, or maybe you don't eat them at all, this is an awesome resource for you. If you're somebody that just does not like to cook, you feel like you don't have time, you just prefer convenience, or honestly just don't like to chop vegetables, then this easy button swap guide is for you. We also have a kitchen staples guide. This is like all of our pantry staples. If you are going to begin to implement incorporating more plant foods, these are the things that you want to have on hand always to make all your meals come together in a pinch. We also have meal planning templates here, as well as a seasonal produce guide. And then we also have video archives. So I'm going to kind of walk you through these quickly. When you click here, it's going to bring you to this really awesome library. It's packed full of 2 to 3 minute video tutorials covering basically anything around cooking. So how to juice citrus, how to make oat flour, how to cook lentils, to cut a pomegranate, how do I cut peaches and other stone fruit, what do I look for and how do I store avocados, what should I do with my brown bananas, what do I look for when I'm buying yogurt or cauliflower pizza crust, what's the deal with tofu, all kinds of awesome learning happening in here. And again, 2 to 3 minute video tutorials. I understand that you don't have time, right? I understand. And the last thing here is meal plan archives. And this is like, if you missed a week, no big deal. You just come in here and you can access all of the archive content for this year in here. So that's past grocery lists with the recipes that we featured for that week. So that is how we make it easy and fun, right? With the Veg Out Project recipe series. So my challenge to you is to incorporate one plant-centered meal every single day. If you're already doing that, then where do you up level? Does that mean I incorporate 2 or maybe 3? You choose to plan your meals with our recipes, or you follow the suggested weekly meal plan with the printable grocery list that we give you every single week. You have access to the search engine catalog. We're adding content to that every single week as well. You have access to the resources that I just shared with you, that whole resource guide, as well as the community page for support and accountability. That's what ties it all together. And here are some other images of people that have implemented what we're talking about today. And they have so many awesome, huge takeaways. And I think it's so cool to just match faces of actual real people. But I wanted to just share 2 of the stories here. So here on the top right, this is Lacey with the 2 kids. She came to me with a weight loss goal. And we were able to get her back to her pre-pregnancy weight. That's what she wanted. But a really awesome side effect was that her doctor took her off of her cholesterol medication. So we were like having a dance party and doing a little bit of a happy dance. It was incredible. Down here in the bottom left, this is Donna. She came to me with GI issues. She was struggling with a lot of GI discomfort. We, over time, were able to eliminate her GI discomfort. But what's really cool about Donna is that she was also struggling with hip pain, and she had trigger finger, which is where your finger locks like this. And she called me and said, Sarah, my trigger finger unlocked. How awesome is that? Just from the reducing the inflammation in her body. So it's not uncommon for people to feel reduced joint pain. So here's what you need to know. The Veg Out recipe series is a qualifying medical expense. So that means it's covered by health savings, flex spending, and wellness reimbursement programs by employers. Awesome, right? We're not quite in the place where healthcare companies, health insurance companies are valuing lifestyle and nutrition as preventative measures, right? So unfortunately, we're not yet covered by health insurance, but this is a huge step in the right direction. Access to everything inside that I just shared with you with the online support component is $24 a month. You're going to save this in groceries at least every month, if not more. And I also, because you're watching this and you're here, I would like to give you $10 off of your first month to just eliminate whatever barrier that you have around getting started. I just want you to get started and implement. So let's make your first month $14. So through tomorrow at midnight only, you can use this code. Go to sarahkaminsky.com. You're going to click member login in the upper right-hand side. You'll create your account. So you'll just create an account with your email and a password. And then apply the coupon code FEELGOOD. That's all caps, no spaces. That's going to take $10 off, $14 for your first month. There is no obligation to join or to continue after your first month. So for any reason you feel like it's not a good fit, then you have complete control of your account and can make changes at any time. If you feel like it's an incredible fit and you're noticing all of these amazing things opening up for yourself in your energy and in your body and in your health and in your life, then you stay connected on every month. So this code again is good until tomorrow at midnight only. I invite you to share it with a friend for an added layer of support and accountability. Lock arms with a family member, a coworker, a neighbor, a friend who would want to begin this journey of incorporating more plant foods into their life as well. So what I'd love to do right now is just open up to questions. I know that we've had some come through in the chat. So I'm going to stop our recording and dive into the live Q&A. But if you have any questions after this recording, feel free to just send me an email. Any questions if you're here live, type them here in the chat, and make sure that we stay connected. You can find me on social, Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Veg Out Project. And you can email me at any time, info@sarahkaminsky.com. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to dive into the live Q&A.